If I look at the automakers just as businesses, right, and talking about technology versus policy, that they didn't seem like they didn't understand the market very well. Now, I'm setting aside all the
Yeah.
issues in your paper, but why didn't they understand that the market for EVs is going to be very limited? Because that's what it looks like to me, is that the hype is colliding with reality, and the automakers are looking around and saying, oh, not everybody wants one. And so, I mean, has that occurred to you, or have you given much thought to that about what the automakers themselves as business people thinking, oh, well, we'll just force feed these into the market, or it was because they were told by government? How do you see the automakers role in this?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I was actually thinking about that same question as you were right before you said it. So you're reading my mind. And I was actually, the last time I did a podcast on EVs, I was opposite the chief sustainability officer at GM. And the point I made was is that, you know, the point I made was exactly that, that the market for EVs is going to be limited. And it's okay for if GM says, okay, I want to go out and try and capture that market. The problem is when we try to force that with government policy, right? So that's, and to force everyone into an EV, right? It's okay to say that EVs are going to grow, EVs are going to be a big part of the market and they're going to have a big market segment. I think they will in time, especially for, commuter vehicles, people like me who, commute 7-8 miles to their office every day. And, that's about it for the most part, right? But there's a lot of things, that EVs are not as good for: long distance travel, hauling, like the guys that come and, mow your lawn and having to haul a trailer, right? That's not a very good application for an EV, right? I mean, yeah,
Right.
Ford has their F-150 Lightning that can do that, but the cost of the battery for that gets more and more expensive the bigger it gets, right? So it's just, there's fundamental limitations as to how big that market's going to get. So I think that's really the problem, is that I think, the executives are not looking at the whole market, and they also have to cater to investors who are demanding, that they virtue signal and do the right thing with regard to EVs, right? They've all got to have their net zero plans now, right? Everyone has to have that. Well, you're not going to get net zero with just hybrids,
Right.
right? So you got to go all in with EVs. And I think that mentality, again, was just that, well, we're going to figure it out, some way the technology is going to come and we'll make this happen. And they're realizing now, like, oh, like maybe it'll come eventually, but not in the next 10 years, right? And so now they're starting to backpedal. So I think
Yeah.
it's executives in some way, and I saw this in the executive that I was opposite to in this last podcast. I think they had the same problem as policymakers of thinking, well, we can drive the technology adoption, like we can, and it's just, that's not how, as a PhD scientist, or former one at least, like that's not how it works. It's the process of technology creation and adoption is very, we have a word, stochastic, meaning random.
Yeah.
You come across things and it takes time. Developing new battery technologies and bringing them to market takes at least 10 years usually. And that's how it was true for the lithium ion battery in the 1980s and 90s, and it's still true today.